Welcome to Shardcast, the Brandon Sanderson podcast. We're a bunch of mega fans giving you the news, discussion, and of course, a whole lot of opinions about Brandon's work and the Cosmere. I'm Eric, and joining me is Ian.
Hey, I'm WeiryWriter.
Don't get too excited. Also, you just sounded especially not excited.
It's a White Sand podcast now.
Yeah. Also joining us is David.
Hi, I'm Windrunner on the forums. I brought the hat back because I was going to get a haircut before this, but
David's hat is free.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite as good as the baseball cap that you had before that other episode, but
hey,
there you go.
I do my best.
And I'm Chaos, and we have brought the White Sand crew back for when we did our last two White Sand episodes a long time ago. One of our earlier episodes. Yeah. When my intro was much more monotone, and it's really weird to re-listen, but we went through White Sand. They're also some of the longest episodes we did for a long time. Yeah. White Sand Volume 2 was the longest one until we did the Spiritual Properties one.
Yeah. Why was that again? Was it because they were so good?
No, it's because we did blow by blows, and that's what we did. We're like going through it blow by blow, and then for both Volume 1 and Volume 2. And so that's what we're doing today. We're going to go through White Sand Volume 3, which as of recording is out on ebook, but October 1st it's out physically. So
unless it just randomly showed up at your house, which it's been doing for some people.
Yeah, that's true.
We're assuming it will actually be available on October 1st.
Well, but you can definitely buy it digitally because we read it. And by the time this airs, it should be. And how about we just start with our general thoughts? There's a new artist. What did we think of the art?
Art was day and night. Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of liked the different artist at the end of Volume 2, but it was very jarring.
Yeah. This was a nice blend of the two. Not my favorite art for a comic I've ever read, but it works.
It's pretty pedestrian.
I can tell what's going on.
Yeah, I would say it looks like someone went through and actually, finished off the drafts that were in the first volume. Like they're like, okay, now we're gonna finalize this, and that's kind of what it turned into, in my opinion.
Yeah, because like the art in the first one was just so muddy. Like the characters didn't have like edges to them, and it was just weird.
It was like your eyes were watering really bad. You're like, who is that?
Well, I mean, that's the problem of, hey, we're starting everyone's in white robes on white background. And like, we have just a face. I will say the faces kind of looked a little weird in a few places in this volume, but
I definitely, like, at the very least, was able to consistently identify what character I was looking at, which was a big step up from the first two.
Except Dryal. Like, I felt, did Dryal look, like, totally different to you or not? But
maybe at the very end, he looked kind of, when he was in his hospital bed, he looked a little different.
Well,
he did look a little different.
Like the first time I saw Dryal on screen, it's like, well, it's a good thing someone said Dryal, because it's like, I did not associate that. But I didn't reread the previous two.
Neither did I. I don't remember him looking that different than what we saw.
I feel like they might have made him more distinct, because I seem to recall us getting confused about which one was Dryal. So I would accept like a recanonization of his appearance to make it very obvious who Dryal is.
What did John Akron and Cinder always have different coats?
I don't know if they always have different coats. They do now.
They have different colored coats, which is good, because once I was like, okay, John Akron's wearing the purple coat, Cinder's wearing the yellow coat. Great. Got it.
I think one had like white with blue and the other had blue with white.
Oh, great. That's great. Like, I definitely prefer this. That's a lot easier to keep track of, because that actually kind of matters, who's John Akron and who's Cinder in this. So why don't we just go through? We're gonna also talk about some differences that happened with the prose as well as we go through this, because the ending is a bit different.
Yeah, this is the most different of them so far, I would say.
Yeah. Well, yes. I mean, Volume 2 ended with Chris like, I want to be a Sandmaster. Like, that never happened.
I'll complain about that, but yeah.
Okay, so Chapter 1, we're starting with Ice kind of recapping to the Lady Judge, and like, that was actually a really nice kind of pseudo recap and things moving along. to keep people up to speed. Like, oh yeah, that's what's happening. I enjoyed it. It made things move faster through this. Overall, the graphic novel really moves pretty fast, which is nice.
Yeah. Did we know the name of Ice's deputy, or had he been introduced as a character before this? Because I felt like it was like, oh, here's a character now. Like, pay attention to this guy, please.
I believe he was there when we first meet Ice.
Yeah, like when they were going after Lockwoman.
Oh, yeah. Good old Lockwoman.
It was honestly really hard in the first Ice chapter in Volume 1 to tell who was who anyway. So other than like, there's Ice and a bunch of other tracts, I guess.
Yeah, but definitely critique that if you're going to have a traitor, maybe introduce him a little earlier than the book in which they become a traitor.
I think he was introduced.
I don't think he had a role large enough to remember.
By the way, there's massive spoilers because we're going through all the scenes that are going through in the book.
Yeah, Rev.
Yeah.
We also get to see Lady Helis looking like a supervillain in Sandmaster robes.
Yeah, Grace consistently thought that on the cover of Volume 3, because the Lady Judge was so menacing on there, that the Lady Judge would be the main villain. No, that's not the case. Lady Judge not shares on.
A way crazier twist, though. Like, one of the people on the Taisha Council that's voting on the fate of the whole situation with the Sandmasters is also the criminal Ice is hunting. That'd have been crazy.
I mean, the judge was in charge of the tracks and stuff, so like that could have been cool. But yeah, no, that's not Lady Helis. Then, so Volume 2 ended with Chris wanting to be a Sandmaster, but so Kenton tests Chris, and it's really more just Chris wanted to see how the Sandmaster test worked.
I wish she would have just said that. It felt like a way to surprise people at the end of Volume 2 who were like, oh, what? Chris wants to be a Sandmaster? Then she's like, couldn't she just been like, hey, Ken, how do you learn how to Sandmaster? And he goes, let me tell you, Chris.
It was just like, hey, we want a somewhat dramatic end to Volume 2 because you have to wait a year and a half.
Yeah, is Chris going to be a Sandmaster? No.
No, not at all. Then we meet the Lord Merchant again, and Kenton is trying to threaten the Lord Merchant, is like, I know the secret, and then Vei's like, oh yeah, what is it? And then they just like, oh, okay, don't actually know the secret, and I need to figure that out.
That was fun to see. I liked Vei's assistant, who was basically a Willy Wonka cameo, just sitting at that desk.
Yeah,
with
what
his purple top hat.
Is up with the clothing on Dayside? I have no idea what's happening still with like the
he looks so important. I thought he was Vei for a minute. I
thought he was so too, because I didn't quite exactly remember what Vei looked like because I didn't read the other ones. I still can't recall who John Akron and Cinder was, but they had different coats, so that's good. So thanks, dialogue, for saying, Akron, be careful. I was like, thanks, that's very helpful. Chris doesn't do like nearly any sciencing in this. Like, she does so little science in this.
Hey, she makes gunpowder once, and one time uses a microscope. Yeah.
At one point, she's like, careful, that has my mobile lab in it.
We talked about getting gunpowder at one point.
But like, no, like, and then like 2 screens later, like, it's open and it's just full of clothes.
Like, yeah, it's just like,
really?
and a gun. Yeah, or it's like at least full of cloths. It does not appear to be a lab. She pulls a gun out of it, not equipment.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's not good. That's my mobile lab of clothes. That's not great. And then
okay, maybe she was lying and she was worried he'd jostle the case and the gun would go off.
Maybe all of the careful glasses were wrapped around clothes. Clothes were wrapped around them. Even though it looks, yeah, that's fine. Then they're having food, and then assassins attack, and that's the end of chapter 1.
That reminds me of Brandon's advice that he gives sometimes, where he says, if you don't really know what's going on, just have ninjas attack and just write it out and see how it happens. And I feel like he might have done that a couple times in this.
Oh, in White Sand? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he's like, oh, and
we need an action scene, so I guess we'll get attacked. And
here comes assassins.
We can't have him be too often, so that's why it has to be only every odd day, which is like still not the best. Like, why is that in their religious text? Whatever, it doesn't matter. It's a plot device. Who cares? But
this is a good point to mention that the Sand Mastery is looking a lot better.
The Sand Mastery looks much better in this. The ribbons look like ribbons. Sometimes I still can't tell what the ribbons are doing when they're fighting, necessarily. But, like, I can definitely tell what's going on a lot better, and it looks cooler.
0% sand whirlwinds that are just kind of carrying them around, and you're like, that's not how that works.
Yeah, at least, like, especially in the end where, like, there's a bunch of ribbons happening with Dryle, like, it actually looks like that's what's happening. Like, oh, that's nice. Yeah, so, Chapter 2, Assassin's Attack. Eric is really funny in that entire scene. Love that, where he's just being like, hey, can you bring me some more food? And then we discover that he is awesome.
Of course you think someone named Eric is funny and awesome.
I mean, he was funny there. Come on.
Yeah. Fun fact, Eric's name used to be spelled like just regular like Eric, which was kind of weird.
It was a little...
It was really weird.
It's like if someone's just named, well, I guess we do have John Akron, but it's just like John or Michael. It's like, oh, okay.
If you take the H out of it, it becomes a fantasy name. That's Jon Snow. He just became a fantasy character.
Right, that's a good point. That's
Except like there are people whose name is Jon in the real world.
Yeah.
We just don't talk about them.
Yeah, exactly. But we discover that we discover Eric is really good at fighting, which I don't remember if that came up before, but matters here.
It's like the first scene we see with him in Volume 1.
Oh,
yeah. Saves Ice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, right. That's a good point. Yeah, you're totally right. Oh, but Chris gave Gevin's gun to Cinder, but then John Akron has the gun and shoots someone who was gonna kill Chris in that.
I wonder why John Akron went and got that gun.
Well, we'll find out. Well, wait. So I'm going out of order here. So Chris meets Nilto, the Lord Beggar, realizes that he is in fact Gevin.
Oh, like right here.
You jump forward a little bit
later. That's fine.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're going on. I see.
The fact that he calls her Chris, which she doesn't pick up on right away.
Right. Yeah, and then later she does. Also, why do you have to take a boat to the DM? This is just kind of unrelated, but as I'm scrolling through this, is the DM like on an island or something? Because twice
it's built on a river, the whole city that they're on.
Yeah,
I guess.
I feel like oftentimes it's quicker to go by boat rather than just go through the city.
I guess. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I do like Ice and Kenton's conflict in this. It's good.
That's probably my favorite plot is Kent and Ice, I think.
Yeah.
If I had to pick one throughout the whole book, I really enjoy them becoming friends.
Yeah. Oh, and then they're going to meet one of Sherazan's associates, and someone's walking up the steps, but then they fear it's Nilto and that they're betrayed, and so then there's a bomb, and they have a dramatic exit.
Well, I feel like that's a disservice to what actually happens.
Okay,
how you just described it, because that's Ice's whole plot. Like she's trying to figure out who Ice is. Like she got a lead on here's this person.
Oh yeah,
they're going to give me information on Sherazan.
Yeah, right.
But when she hears the steps, she thinks it's Nilto, who she thinks is Sherazan.
Right.
So she thinks that guy was just a trick. So she legitimately thinks her life is in danger.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Back to me defending the book.
Hey, that's fine. That's fine.
Too.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Chris realizes that Nilto's Gevin, who I guess got shot, and so his face got disfigured, which is why he's looking like that. And he doesn't want to go back to Dayside because he's disfigured, he doesn't want to go back to Elise. And so
he's much less mean to Chris in the graphic novel than he was in the prose. He was really pretty cold.
Yeah, it was like, I never actually loved you. I had so many lovers. It was a joke how you didn't know. Everyone else knew. It was not good.
It was some nightmare fuel right there. It was.
Yeah. And this time he's just the Elysians, they'll just, given to Scathan as it is, and most of the people want to just give into the dynasty, so what's even the point?
Yeah, and he also makes a point about like how like, hey, I'm actually doing good here.
Right.
As the Lord Beggar, like he's looking out for the people who don't have someone to look after. So he's less of a horrible person that he was in the prose.
Yeah.
It definitely recasts the Lord Beggar as a much less sinister figure when you read back through. You're like, oh, this guy's just here trying to help people generally, even if he is kind of a criminal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And John Akron comes in and is revealed to be our start of more reveals at the end of a Brandon book. John Akron is actually also someone under Scathan's orders to kill Prince Gevin, and Ban comes back, saves the day, and John Akron gets dumped into the river. Rip.
Oh, they just dump him in the river?
Well, I mean, he was smacked with a giant steel hook, and it doesn't look good. But yeah, they say that he died. But yeah, he just like he gets slapped by a giant chain hook that's like on a big crane because they're in this like shipping area, and he just falls in the river and he's dead.
Did all of you guys see John Akron's betrayal coming from minute one like I did?
I mean, earlier on in this volume, there's like a scene with him and Cinder about like betrayal, and it's like,
See, I didn't remember this at all, actually. So,
one of them, they go, I guess anyone could be a traitor, even one of us, princess.
Yeah,
and then they just.
I remembered one of them was a traitor. I didn't remember which one.
Yeah, it's like it's hard to tell which one's which. So, like, why do I care?
Yeah, I think it was actually just a tiny bit better foreshadowed in the prose because John Akron had spent a lot of time in the dynasty because that was the only other cultures he could go study as an anthropologist. So there definitely were more hints where he could have had some potential contact with the dynasty people.
I mean, here we at least get the foreshadowing that John Akron took the gun from Cinder and Chris gave it to Cinder, right? Specifically, but then John has it. So.
Yeah, at least Chris thought Cinder was a better option. Not wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. So, John Akron's dead. Everyone's saved. Gavin doesn't want to come back. And
Ban's back.
Yep, and Ban's back. Ban turned out to just wanting to see if the Sandmasters were a threat. That's what he was under orders for.
What do you guys think about Ban? What was Bayan's decision? Did he decide to come back to Chris? Is it just that he has a code and he was contracted protector, so now that he's completed his mission, he's going to come back and do it because he feels like he has to?
I guess so, yeah.
Like,
like he had a job to protect her. It didn't matter that it was under false pretenses.
Okay, so do you think that they have any sort of legitimate affection, like, or is it just that he is a contracted servant?
I think he likes Chris, but he's probably a loyal servant of the dynasty.
See, because in my head, he completed his dynasty mission, so he probably should go back and get his next dynasty mission and not just hang out with Chris. But
I mean, yeah.
I don't think he just blindly follows orders. Like, if he feels something and it doesn't contradict his other orders, like, he'll do it. Like, I'm assuming in his orders, it wasn't said like, as soon as you find out if Sandmasters are a threat, you immediately come back. Like, if that had been his orders, he would have gone back. But
I guess, but then he directly counteracts the will of, is he Scathan or is he Scythe in this? Scathan? By stopping John Akron, right? Like, he's directly fighting against another tendril of their will, essentially.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel like he can't be that loyal, is, I guess, my read.
Probably, yeah, I get, yeah.
So that's what happens. And then we realize that Vey and Rodgent, they are missing, and we need to go find them because if they abstain the vote, then that'll just count against the DM. So we gotta go find them. It
has to be a unanimous decision.
Yep. So, good chapter. I liked getting more thoughts from Kenton.
Mm-hmm.
Just in general. in this chapter and everything of just, hey, we're getting more internal dialogue. Really like it. That helps, I think.
Yeah, I'm not a big graphic novel person. This is the only graphic novel series that I have read all the way through. And it's interesting to see how much they have to be less reliant on an internal dialogue when you're doing something like this, because they can't put every thought in a square box about that Kenton is having. But I think they did more this time, and I think it helped.
I think it helped.
It is definitely a delicate balance, and it's not something you can do every issue. Like there are issues that are very internal monologue heavy, but then it balances out over a long series.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's funny because it almost like directly competes for space with spoken words. So you can't do both. You kind of have to decide if they're having a conversation or if they're having an internal dialogue.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. I think they definitely did a better balance here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, chapter 3 is such a big chapter. That's the entire side quest that they go on at the here.
Wow.
And,
oh gosh.
And so chapter 3 starts with Kenton immediately threatening the Lord Farmer to try and get information where Vey and Rajant are. Great.
Technically, not threatening the Lord Farmer, just one of the Lord Farmer's lackeys.
Oh, right. You're right.
Which is almost worse, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then Kenton does the same thing where he does something and then immediately is like, this is why the Sandmasters are bad. I'm like, yeah,
like,
idiot.
Have that thought first.
And the thing is that Kenton had the Lord Farmer's support, right?
Yeah. No, oh yeah. No. I think he must have. If I was the Lord Farmer and I saw that happen, I'd be voting against Kenton, and I would say, "Hey guys, he picked my buddy up with sand and threatened to hurt him."
Well, I think the Lord Farmer just votes whatever Vey does.
Oh, you're right.
Because they're both you're right. Christian.
Sorry, I'm getting it confused with the Lord Mason, who was.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Taisha, okay?
There's a Lord Artisan who is critically important. We spent a lot of time with, as everyone will recall.
And we totally all remember what she looks like. But yeah, so that's still annoying that Kenton still makes rash decisions and not thinks through his actions in any way. But that's the only time that happens in this, and it's for a single page, which is fine, I guess. And so they're trying to figure out where Vey went. And Chris just goes back to Gavin and is just being really blatant about him being Gavin. And Gavin's like, no, are you just trying to get me killed? And
I mean, his quote right there. No.
And so basically threatens Gavin to figure out where they went. And then Chris learns, and they need to go downriver to
raise hair.
Yep, that place. That's great. Glad you pronounced that. And they need a boat.
I didn't think it was that hard to pronounce.
Well, there's an L and an R next to each other, and that's just kind of weird.
Lorazar. It's like Thalen. Just have to mash all of your consonants together.
I get that. So they need a boat, and they try and charter a boat, and everyone's like, oh no, we don't have any boats specifically for you, Lord Mastrel. But Delius is here, being amazing as usual, and he can just commandeer ships whenever he wants.
Yep.
How convenient.
And we
Lord
learn
Admiral of the Helm.
And we learn
lucky position.
Yeah, we learn what's going on with the helm, which the Lord Admiral is just a nothing position. It's a punishment, essentially. Mm-hmm. And he was too successful. And we learn a lot about his backstory. And is
specifically
amazing.
His backstory with Vey.
Yes. Oh, that's just
it's mentioned in the first volume that Delius always votes opposite of Vey.
Right. Yeah, that is true.
I didn't realize it.
And that's why Delius supports Kenton.
Mm-hmm.
But if he gets Vey support, then won't Delius not support Kenton?
I think at one point Delius does say that.
Yeah. Fortunately, well, we'll see. Kenton tries to overmaster now that they're just on a ship, and Kenton is trying to get more power, and Yeah, that Overmaster, he thinks that that's a way to get more power, that maybe the Sandmasters just lied. But he, nearly dies. He passes out, but he's fine.
I really like that part, though, because it feels it's very classic Kenton, where he just kind of stubbornly rolls the dice and decides he's going to take a massive risk and hope it pays off.
Pushes through with determination, yeah.
He could die. He could not get his powers back.
You know what he's doing, David?
What?
He's exercising his autonomy.
I wish we got another bold-faced autonomy mentioned somewhere.
No, we didn't. We didn't this time, which is good. But there is a mention earlier in the book where Kenton says, "Oh, we're all trapped," and that just felt to me like, yeah, they're not being able to exercise their autonomy, right? That's what popped into my brain.
A man's keeping him down.
No. So, and then we get even more Delius backstory, where he was too successful. He bought a mine, but then he lost his fortune. Vey became the Lord Merchant because Vey got the mine. And apparently you get the currency from Lockstone. Okay, sure.
It's not any weird from digging gold out of the ground and using
I understand that. I
I want to know what Lockstone is. Do they wear it in jewelry? What other uses does it have aside from being made of lock?
The stone isn't made of the coins. That's not what it is. But
in some ways.
But then, hilariously, so he lost his fortune, but then he joined the Helm and then got really rich, but then was punished by the Circle and to come the Lord Admiral, and all he can get is free booze, and so he's using lots of wine and spending lots of money.
Free booze, and he can commandeer any ship.
That's right. That's because that's plot important.
Indeed.
To get
and
here.
Maybe something else. I don't remember.
Food,
housing. I want to say there were 3 things.
It was food, housing, and a ship.
And they have to host him. Yeah.
Then they get to Larazair.
Well, actually, there is a scene with Ice where she's reading the holy script, and she's whoever is sending the assassins after you is really bad at reading this book.
Oh, right. That is actually an important detail. Surprisingly so. Yeah, because apparently you're only supposed to attack on odd days, and they didn't do that in that previous assassin attack. Kenton doesn't have a sand for a bit because he overmastered. We get to a rich manor, which apparently just looks like any rich manor on Earth, because it's a manor, and we got regular trees, we got evergreen trees.
But we do see regular trees throughout the rest of the book.
I guess.
They do grow here.
It just doesn't seem like the climate that evergreens would live. That's all I'm saying.
The evergreens are weird.
Yeah, I'm fine with their existing trees, but those clearly look like a row of evergreens going down this.
Imported from Darkside. That's how wealthy these people are.
Easy.
I mean, that is actually very possible.
Yeah. Fortunately, they are rich, right? That is possible. But wait, no, that doesn't make sense, because why would you have trees like that on Darkside when it's way darker? You would never get enough light.
It's colder.
True.
Right?
I don't know. I don't even know what kind of plants they have. They should just have slime, probably.
Their plants glow in the dark.
Yeah. But you wouldn't get enough sunlight.
They wouldn't be green.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're probably feeding off of you in some way. Yeah. Ever ultraviolet.
Yep. Kenton originally thought that the DM owed the Lord Merchant 700,000 lock, and he's like, how could I ever repay that? But actually, the Lord Merchant owes the DM lots of money.
How bad is the Lord Master's record keeping that Kenton couldn't tell if this number was a debt or...
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
He's just must be what we owe.
I don't know much about accounting, but I feel like a plus or minus sign is a kind of a big difference. And also, isn't there accounts credited and accounts debited? Don't you put those on different lines generally?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Praxton's terrible at everything.
I kind of got lost in the logic of the whole repayment thing where he said essentially he was paying the Lord Master of Tribute and then he would put it in the account and that would somehow cause the debt to grow.
No,
and I'm like, are they still taking money out of this account?
No. What he's saying is that I was confused by that too. I had to reread that like 3 times to figure out what that meant. But no, it's that the Lord Merchant is sending them 2,000 lock every so while
as tribute
to keep it a secret. And
what? Don't they all pay them? Did they not just historically pay them a tribute? I thought that was
yes. Traditionally, that is what was done. Most of the other professions have ceased doing that.
Yeah, but only the guild continued to do that, and that was
in secret
to keep it secret. Yeah, and because they didn't like the DM, right? So that was the issue. That the Lord Merchant paid 2,000 extra lock, and then that just kept going into the DM's personal fund, and thus in making the debt even more and more.
Yeah,
but that's not how you don't add money to a debt and then it makes the debt bigger.
Okay, let me explain this.
Okay.
So the Lord Mastral has an account with the guild.
Yeah.
Specifically with the Lord Merchant. So like they're holding his money for him.
Yes.
So the Lord Merchant is giving 2,000 gold of his personal money, of his personal fortune, to the DM as tribute. The DM is then turning around and is like, hey, hold on to this money for me. And it's being added to their account. So that's what's causing. So technically the Lord Merchant's money is going down and the DM's account is going up.
I guess it just didn't seem like it would increase the debt to me, because my understanding was at some point, like while they were holding the Lord Mastral's money, it had been used and therefore they essentially owed him that. And if he ever wanted to call that debt, he could. And that was kind of the threat. So if he's depositing money in that account, it isn't really like, I guess it does subtract money from the Lord Merchant, if that is the whole point of that. But it doesn't make his debt bigger. It just gives him less money.
Yeah. Well, it started with the original Lord Merchant that made the deal, who used the money poorly and didn't have anything.
I just thought it was kind of, I guess at the end of this, what we can say is it may have been a tiny bit confusingly explained if we just spent 5 minutes talking about it.
Yeah, we also get another confusingly explained thing when the Shipwright Circle gets sick of Delius's crap, and they're like,
you're instant, apparently.
Well, yeah. And they're like, you're not going to be Lord Admiral anymore. And this, when I was reading the prose, I remember that this twist was my favorite of them, of what Delius did. But it's still confusingly explained, because Delius, even though he pretends to, I mean, I think he is a drunk, but he definitely plays up the part, right?
He has fun with it, I think.
Yeah, he has fun with it.
I don't think you drink that much wine and don't start to like it a little bit.
Yeah, but he's like ready to go, and he knows exactly what he's going to do now, and that he's released from Lord Admiral. So his servants, and his son, have lots of holdings, and so then he specifically...
Yeah, it's specifically his son that has the holdings.
Right.
They did a good job hiding that.
Yeah.
Well, no one knew that was his son.
But shouldn't that person have been an important part of the ship owner's circle? Like, if he had that much, if it was enough to make Delius that important immediately, like, shouldn't that guy have been that important?
Only if he, like, pressed the issue. Because, like, if he hid how wealthy was, like,
that's what I was saying. Like, they just did a good job hiding it. Otherwise, they should have realized that they were.
Was his son ever mentioned earlier in this ever?
No.
That he had a son? No, because it was a secret.
Yeah, but I just didn't remember that person's face ever appearing before.
Oh, I don't think he was mentioned as having
there
a servant
was a steward around.
Oh, there was a steward. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good. Because I was like, wait.
His face looks, at least the faces are identifiable enough that you could be kind of like, is that guy's son? Benefit.
Oh, I guess that's true. Yeah, I can see that. Basically, his son is going to go block Cosmere and cripple the helm, and Delius makes his power play and makes the guy who I guess was the head of the circle, makes him the Lord Admiral instead as a punishment.
Yeah, so, because I think a lot of the ship owners circle is Kirstian, which is why they don't want the DM to like continue, because the Sandmasters are unholy. So like that's part of why they're like, okay, like no, you're getting too close. Like we need to get rid of Delius.
Right.
I keep thinking the Lasandin should have their own religion.
They
but
just
they
don't, I guess.
Yeah.
No,
or they're
weird.
Kirstian.
Yeah, it's strange. I don't understand the world building and what's going on.
Yeah, I don't know how the DM became important if they were always thought unholy by the majority of the people on this continent.
Well, but because they're not. They're only considered unholy by Kirstians.
But like a lot of the people in Lossand are Kirstian.
But not originally, I think.
Yeah,
but what were they? Were they just all like a group of atheists? That's not how things normally. I don't know. That's just not how you don't normally see a lot of non-religious cultures.
This country is all non-religious. It's like usually there's
like,
some sort of cultural thing. Yeah.
Yeah, or at least like a philosophy, even if it's not a religion. Like.
And that's why the Kirstians had it really easy. It's like, hey, we're gonna preach to you because
I guess I didn't think anything, but now I've got that seems cool.
Yeah. So I found the blockade slightly disappointing because it makes sense. Like, yes, put a blockade around Cosmere and block all trade, and you'll bankrupt the helm. But in the book, there were like mentions early on that like, hey, because there's this food and like resources of it were just like drying up and like kept on getting mentioned. And then it turns out like the sun had just been buying all of it.
Oh, was it like the dissolved
really?
Like was it like the dissolved carapace food that they eat? Like had he bought like all of that, whatever that was called? Okay.
And then it's like so like the order was like, okay, like bring all of the ships with all of this food to Cosmere and start selling it for like half its price. Because like the ship owner circle had been like doing things to like hedge their bets, like to bring in food and make money.
Yeah.
But it was just going to undercut their prices and like bankrupt them.
That's way more fun.
I do remember it being much better in the prose because that was like the one thing in the prose in the ending that I really liked this thing with Delius. And it was not as good in this, personally, because you don't really understand all of the politicking that's occurring. Just sort of happens, and then you witness it.
I think it's a good simplification.
Yeah.
Like, blockades make sense. Like, people understand a good blockade.
Yeah.
However, it's not as fun.
Delius is still a fantastic character. Love him.
Okay. Can I get to my complaint part of this now
Absolutely.
or no? Yeah, I'm going to be
We're
whiny.
done with the chapter. Yep.
Okay, so thing one. Why are they on this boat? Why are they sailing down the river to a different city? We're not going to say anything about, like, there was actually a little bit more of this city, if I recall, in the prose, where you kind of like, oh, this is like a little bit different than the capital. We didn't really see that. It was just like, okay, we sailed away so Delius could have enough time to info dump on us about his past, which is, I mean, fun, but like,
yeah, that's true. That's totally true.
And like, I want to preface that I enjoy Delius as a character. Like, the whole sequence is really fun, but there's zero foreshadowing in my opinion. Like, there's no way to possibly have any idea like what Delius is going to do. All his abilities as the guy who runs the helm come in like direct usefulness. Like, it seems like he's been given abilities that will directly help him fulfill his role in the plot.
That I definitely agree with.
Yeah, and then he gets there, and then the twist happens, and he gets a whole new set of abilities that allow him to continue being useful in the plot.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just no, like, we didn't think it was going to happen. There was no foreshadowing. He's a reverse traitor, in my opinion. Like, he's a reverse best friend of Kenton that makes his life so much more convenient.
I disagree that there was no foreshadowing, because there are a few scenes where he's talking to his steward about Kenton. The first two, in like the second.
You could be like, okay, there's something weird about him, but he just, I don't think Kenton earned his support. Like, it's just very convenient that he is a powerful ally that allows Kenton to gain the support of not only himself, but his worst enemy, and has all the right powers to do it.
It is convenient when you put it that way.
Yeah. And I just also found, I didn't see when Kenton found out that that the debt is actually owed to him. There was no, like, he was just reading the notes, then he's like, I'm going to grant you a second time, Lord Vey. And this time I read more thoroughly, like, there's no twist. There's nothing he figured out or like some other piece of evidence that helped it.
It just happens off screen.
Yeah. And then he's like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, it's a flawed story. So like, these are like the flaws with the plot, but
it's also like the politicking is cerebral and not exactly good if you don't get cerebral thoughts all the time. Like if I had to say what a graphic novel's good for, I would definitely say more like action and stuff.
Action.
And moving the plot along. All politicking all the time, which White Sand is a lot of, I think suits a visual medium less, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's harder to get right, but you can still do it.
I'm sure. So, yeah, it's just like Kenton, we figured it out, and we're just kind of witnessing just things happen and not really understanding and realizing that ourselves. So, all right, chapter 4. We're moving along. Okay. Stuff's happening.
Yeah.
And
there's another assassin attack.
Yep, there's another assassin attack. The Kirstians look just like barbarians as usual, so consistent with that art there. Hey, all right, cool.
I guess, yeah.
And basically what happens is Eric gives in and he's gonna be a badass and murders like all of them.
Yep. I don't get Eric. Like, he's cool. I don't understand. I feel like I have like a 0% understanding of his psychology aside from the fact that he didn't want to be a fighter and then got forced into doing it and it broke him.
I thought it made sense. It seemed to me that he was really good at it and didn't want to. He was scared that he was so good at it. That was my impression.
I just don't get a sense of what he's doing or that he's moved on to a different life. Like, he just seems like a guy who decided not to fight and now all he does is walk around and eat food and kind of grump in the background. I don't know. I didn't feel like, how Dalinar like was like a violent person, tried to put that behind him, and now he's a general and he's a father. Like, he's got a whole different character, but Eric is not anything else. He's just a guy who's really good at fighting who won't do that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like, it's just boring or like confusing to me.
I mean, it makes sense to me that if someone's like, hey, my dad wants me to become this thing and I'm gonna rebel against that and not do any of those things and just laze around and be lazy.
But not do anything, I guess. Like, maybe that's all it is. But it just seems like he's like, okay, I guess I don't get to have a personality now. I'm just
I think it's
person.
Fine. I think it makes sense. Okay. It's fine.
He's like a boring Bucky.
We discover that Kenton gets more ribbons from Overmastery, and he looks pretty cool. Sand mastering, it's pretty cool.
That'd be a good portrait for the wiki. We wanted to put that in there.
To be honest, yeah, it really kind of would. And then
it's a slower chapter.
Then we go to the tower to figure out where Rajant was, because Rajant was not south. No one knows where he is.
Yeah, that was the assumption that Rajant fled with Vey. Yep. So the fact that he was not down south was concerning.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Turns out Sherazon murdered Rajant really kind of brutally.
Probably?
Yeah.
So Kenton asks Ice, who is the track, like, hey, would you mind searching for this guy? Yeah. It's kind of your job.
Yeah. And then they do. And he's under the tower the whole time. And the Daysiders are afraid of the dark. Makes sense. Sherazon, like, ripped the guy's eyelids off. And
that was handled about as tastefully as it could be, and I still was like, "Oh, that's really gross."
Yeah,
like, they did not make it too gory, but I was like, "Ah!"
And made him stare at the dark until he died. That's great. Mm-hmm. Fun. Sherazon, not nice.
Nope,
not at all.
And Ice has the realization that so it's like mentioned here that like Rachin is like under the power of Sherazon. Like, Sherazon had influence over Rajant.
Sure, right.
Which I don't think was ever established before this. And so Ice figures out that like the guy with the limp coming up the stairs early in the book was Regent, not Nilto.
Yeah, I see. I feel like in my head, this is like another low impact twist.
It
like
was
fun,
it
but
was
like you're just kind of like, oh, okay, cool. You know?
Yeah. The main reason he needs to die is so Eric can become the Lord General.
Yeah,
basically.
And gain a character.
So heartbreaking because like he's like, you want to ask me, Kenton? Please don't. And then Kenton asks him,
which makes sense.
And Eric says yes. Which is like, this is like the point that just like makes like the weirdness that is Eric's psychology like makes sense. Like this is like the shifting point. Like, okay, Eric is really screwed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll stop complaining after this, but just final. I would feel more bad for Eric if I felt like he was sacrificing anything aside from just his. Maybe, I assume it's his own mental well-being, which is not unimportant. But he just seems to go from he's like, "Oh, you want me to be sad? Okay," and then he just does it. But I wish he like if he had a life, if he was giving something up, if he found meaning or purpose in something else that wasn't violence, I would have felt more of an impact than Eric going, "Okay, I guess I'll stop doing nothing and do this thing that I hate."
I think he just hadn't found it yet. That like he was trying to find something.
I think that could have been shown a little more.
Like, now all hope of that is lost.
Yeah.
Can't he just resign after this or run away?
Potential of something.
I guess maybe he'll just like maybe it's just his psychology and he's like if he goes back he's resigned to it. But I feel like he can go raise his hand for Kenton and then get on a ship and peace out and no one has to ever know anything about him again.
I don't think that.
I think the fact that he has been fighting again has like brought back some trauma.
I could see
stuff,
that,
you know, and so like in this chapter we see him killing a bunch of people, and then like this is the final straw, and it was the killing was more important to his psychology than just the necessity of Kenton needing a Lord General.
And like immediately after that, like we do start seeing a shift in his personality because like he's very formal with Chris after that point, and she's like, "What is going on here? Like he doesn't act like this."
Yeah.
So and then it's just like Kenton asking him was that final stroke that like, okay, all hope is lost. Like I might as well just give up.
They need to get him a career counselor or something because it's just not. It's not working out for Eric.
You know, he's there. Then we get chapter 5, and what happens here? We learn who Sherazan is.
And you will never guess who it is. Never.
Because you forget that he's a character, but it's Tane, another tract that was working on the case the whole time. And then Tane makes Ice do like a Batman choice. It's like, it's exactly that.
It
like,
is. That's inaccurate.
You can either save your family or you can save an orphanage, and she grew up in an orphanage, and it's really tense.
Well, the choice between doing her job and like protecting her family, which is the central tension of her character.
Yeah, that makes sense. But like, why didn't Tane just kill her right here?
I think it's a little vindictive. Like Ice has almost completely destroyed his criminal enterprise.
Right? Yeah. Okay. All right.
But
fine.
Did you guys feel like Ice was maybe having like a panic attack or something during this scene? Because it seemed like she was having like some pretty strong like physiological responses where she was breathing a lot.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. That was well done. I just don't understand why Tane just didn't kill her in Sherazan's hideout thing. Like, why didn't he just do that? Why do we even need to do this Batman choice? What?
Yeah.
Because like he wanted to like screw with her even more.
That is an acceptable enough reason. It's just
like it's a Batman choice. You can't apply like normal person logic to Batman villains.
Yeah.
The thing is, it is.
Yeah, he's not the Joker. But yeah.
Then, even though Ice runs out of Sherazan's hideout, and is getting someone to save the orphanage and is running back to her place. Somehow Tane got back to Ice's family before Ice did. Okay, sure.
Well, because Tane went straight to the house. Like, she found other tracks first.
I guess that's true. I guess.
I would prefer to have seen like a little delay on Ice, like Ice's start. But it did seem a little funny that they both run there.
It's just like running, and Tane's just like, "Hey, I'm here already." Like, okay.
Well, because like he knows where he's going, she doesn't.
That's true.
It makes sense.
Yeah. And Kenton gets there and thinks that Tane was an assassin to kill Kenton, I guess, and attacks Tane and saves Ice's family. So, like, that's nice.
Using unholy sandmastery in her home, I might add.
Yeah, but she's very happy to have her family back. And I like Ice being female a lot. Like, it's such a good change in all three of these that it's just really nice.
Yeah, I agree.
So much better. And it
definitely, I think it made like the whole Christian society even like a little more interesting, that it wasn't that like it was like, for its flaws, it was fairly egalitarian might be the right word, that like, she's a woman in the police force, it's not a big deal,
Guess so.
But I think it was a bigger deal in the pros because like they were very like gender segregated. So but Brennan's also already done that with Roshar and
So I think he kind of pulled that back a little bit to make it, because it's just like, But
like her being a police officer, and that's a Lysandan thing, not necessarily like a Kareen thing, right?
Oh yeah, no, so. Yeah, it is. But I mean, like, I don't think she's pretty. What's the term I'm looking for? Like, she's very observant. So I feel like it's not as big a deal for her culturally. I just thought it was interesting, like an interesting change from the pros. But
so I can't say I particularly liked the Sherzan reveal. Like I don't remember how it was in the pros, but I remember it having very little impact because I didn't remember that much in the pros.
Yeah, I think it was pretty much this.
It's like secret identity, secret thing. Like, what did we get? We got Delius Vey, there's a secret thing. Sherzan, there's a secret thing. And we got one more coming up, too. Then we have one more thing to do. And it's the duel.
The vote.
And the vote. Yeah, two more things. Kenton, all through this, has been worried, Dryle is so good at Sand Mastery. He has 25 ribbons. He's going to wreck me. And it's kind of cool that I guess everyone in the city, a lot of people, all the important people are at this duel watching, because Sandmasters don't usually fight.
Or they haven't for a very long time.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess that is my question. Has Dryle always had half of his head shaved? Because that was something I did not catch.
I think so.
I don't remember.
It just wasn't always very clear.
Okay. Yeah, because it is much clearer now.
It is very clear. And you know what? The duel looks pretty sweet.
It does.
It really looks like Dryle is being pushed up by 25 sand ribbons and just looking awesome doing it.
Oh, is that what they were going for with?
I think so, yeah.
The whirlwinds? Is that it was just a bunch of individual ribbons that they didn't bother to draw?
That's what they were. Yeah, yes. That.
Oh.
Yeah, they really didn't draw
ribbons
for Sand Mastery.
I'm glad they got it right here, because I remember in the pros that was a huge deal. It's like, Kenton has few ribbons and Dryle has a lot. That's the whole reason why. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like this is why people thought White Sand might be good for a graphic novel, because Sand Mastery itself is really fun and cinematic. So this is probably like the best that we're going to see in terms of visuals in the graphic novel for Sand Mastery. Or at least, like, this is the best, this is the peak the art's going to be in terms of the story.
It was pretty sweet. And looks like Dryle's about to win, but Kenton realizes, actually, I'm really good with a single ribbon, and like cuts through a bunch of ribbons. But then Dryle, the same thing that happened in Volume 1, where the Sandmasters are going crazy with power and dehydrating. That's happening to Dryal here as well. And
well, I think it's more like Dryal was trying to do what Praxton did, which was like to master like a massive wave of sand.
That's right.
And that's what pushed him over the edge.
Right.
He does look a lot like Praxton's last moments here.
It was, but I kind of forgot that that's what Praxton was doing, and that's what Dryal was trying to do. Right.
It's not that the poison made them go crazy.
No.
It's just like they dehydrated way faster.
Yeah, it's the dehydration that did it.
It'd be kind of fun, though. Like, dehydration and insanity.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Dryal collapses, and... No Sandmasters die under my watch. Not today. Not ever.
I mean, I don't think that's funny. Like, I think that's like a really awesome moment.
I just think I like the moment. It's just a bit melodramatic. That's what I think.
Yeah. I think he was trying to make a point to the assembled masses. He's like, he has like, I have to show that Sandmasters have changed.
Yeah.
This is a perfect moment.
That's true.
Yeah. If there's a moment for drama, it's in the middle of a literal gladiatorial arena with thousands of people cheering you.
That's true.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's not melodramatic, but it's like, this is the time.
Yeah. That's true.
Melodrama isn't inherently a bad thing.
No.
Yeah. But this is our first major change to the prose, I would say.
Major change.
Yes.
Dryal dies in the prose.
He literally cracks in half, and his front half falls forward.
Oh, I don't remember that.
I just looked at it. Yeah, like he gets so dehydrated that he just crunches forward, and that's the end of him.
Oh,
that's gross. I'm really glad they didn't draw that.
No. Yeah, I'm glad too. Then the vote happens. Everyone votes for the DM. Sorry. The Lord Artisan was male, and the Lord Mason was female, and I got those mixed up earlier.
Well,
sorry.
They look feminine, but they're still a Lord Mason. I don't know if that's supposed to be a Lady Mason.
Do they call her Lady Judge? They do, I think.
They call her Lady Judge.
Huh.
So
probably should be Lady Mason, but I don't know. Yeah. Whatever. Maybe it's a weird historical quirk, or it's just carelessness.
So everyone votes for Kenton except the Lady Judge, who makes Ice render the decision, and Ice votes for the DM because Kenton saved her family.
And I think, to slightly expand on that, like she had come to respect him as a person even by the beginning of this volume.
Indeed.
Yeah. And like there are a lot of like introspective like thoughts about like, can you be honorable and unholy at the same time? And
Ice and Kenton have been good in this entire thing.
Yes,
it has, and I do think it is mostly earned. This moment, it's just good thing Kenton was there just in the nick of time.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, he didn't kill that guy thinking he was saving Ice's family. He was like, oh my gosh, my life's in danger. Oh, did I save your family? Yeah. Awesome.
Yep. And so the DM saved. And then we get probably the only real art thing that's weird is that there's an IV, or what looks like would be an IV.
An IV bag.
Yeah, an IV bag for Dryal, which is in one panel and not another. So it's a teleporting IV bag. Important.
I could see them having IVs, I will say, because I feel like, Mistborn, they're a little advanced in metallurgy. If you're on a desert planet with people who use water to use magic, maybe they figured out how to put some water in them,
It's certainly less egregious than the boombox or the ceiling fan.
Yeah.
But IVs are pretty advanced, so I don't know.
See, with the ceiling fan, I just imagine Praxton sitting in there with like one tendril of sand, just like periodically pushing on it to keep it going.
Yeah. Didn't we joke that there's undermastrals under the DM pushing a lever with sand mastery? Yeah, I think so.
It's been a while since.
It's been a while. I remember making that joke. And then the one last thing is that, who poisoned DM? Who poisoned the Sandmasters? And it turns out it's Ellorin, who poisoned the bull in particular to make the Sandmasters dehydrated.
How do you poison a bull? Is it just really porous and he like managed to get it in? Like, isn't someone like, hey guys, there's some weird stuff in the bottom of this bowl?
I think it was like a coating.
Yeah, like maybe.
That like would just like slowly dissolve into the water. So like even if you drank off the water and you put more water in it, it would dissolve into that as well.
I'm sure there's like a technical explanation. Just it wasn't incredibly intuitive when I thought about it. I was just like, what do you mean he poisoned the bowl? Like there's 500 of them. Did they all? How much poison was in this bowl?
Enough.
A lot.
Enough. Yeah. And turns out Ellerin converted and saw the Sandlord. And we get to
see who looks cool.
Who looks awesome.
Yes.
That is super cool. One of the coolest panels. There's some really cool art in this.
Yeah.
And this is one of them.
And I completely buy this. I'm very interested that Bobadin or whatever, autonomy is on Talon at this point, directly interceded in an attempt to destroy the Sandmasters.
Yeah.
I could believe that.
I mean, I don't think the art is lying to us. Like, I think that is what this is saying, right?
What he saw, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I could only assume that is what that means, right?
Is this new? Did he have this explanation in the prose that he had met the Sandmaster?
The Sandlord?
The Sandlord,
I want to say, but like because it was text, it's not like we get a flash to, oh wait, he actually saw something.
Yeah, this is the benefit of this media.
Mm-hmm.
It's very striking. Like, the benefit of this medium is we can move fast through scenes and scene transitions super fast, and that's nice. And we can just say, later, we're doing this other thing. Great. And then we get to pan to this panel that has the Sandlord. And you know what? I'm going to go into the Who's That Cosmere character mode so we can show this on screen, because it looks sick. It looks so cool.
Do you have that vision? Maybe you quit Sandmastery and become Kirstian or Kareen. Like, is that what? If I was just walking around the desert and that appeared in front of me, I'd be like, oh, maybe I need to listen to this thing.
I mean, I don't really understand Bobadin's motivation for doing this, because maybe she doesn't like it. Yeah.
Does she have motivations? Like, who knows what?
I don't. I don't know. I don't know what Autonomy's motivations would be. And Ellerin tries to kill Kenton, but Kenton gets him first. And
one little props to the art again that I'll point out is they actually do a pretty good job, if you look, making sand turn black when it is like either gotten wet or like it's used to kill someone, or when. And you can see in Kenton and Dryl's duel, you can see black ribbons falling away that they've counteracted from each other. Like even going through, if you look at the one where he's killing him in the scene.
Oh, wow. Yeah, there is a lot of
back.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. So that's like good. Internally consistent world building, great.
That is okay, good. That's good. I did not notice that. Kenton offers Ice to be his bodyguard, but Ice refuses and is gonna look towards her family. And we'll talk about how things end up. And then we kind of get a little epilogue thing. They're loading up the ship.
We do.
And they're bringing a bunch of sand back to Darkside. And Chris's goal is to charge the sand. Oh, we kind of glossed over this earlier. Gavin says, oh yeah, the Sandmasters can't help because you need to charge the sand. But the same thing is that Kenton says this a chapter earlier. And so Gavin saying it again is just, and then gets through to Chris that, oh yeah, it doesn't work.
The fact that like Chris doesn't, because it's never made a secret. Like it's
no, never.
Like we learn very on in like Kenton's that like this is how it works.
It was more of a secret in the prose. Like Chris had never figured out how sand recharged. Like it just hadn't come up, and so she kind of assumed that it just did it on its own until someone explained it to her.
And Gavin did.
So
in that scene with him, and I definitely like that it wasn't a big secret, because in the prose I just felt Chris was dumb for not figuring it out.
Yeah. Well, Kenton was a little less forthcoming in the prose too. Like he let her. he kind of messed with her a little bit just for fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
But
yeah, and they're taking another Sandmaster with them to Darkseid. I don't remember his name. But they're bringing at least one with them.
Yeah. Diren, I think.
Yes.
Or Diren, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. Whereas like in the pros, Kenton decided to go and left Diren in charge.
Right.
Yeah. Big change.
But this makes more sense.
Because you can't just I united the DM, I did it. I'm leaving. Bye guys.
Yeah.
But it was like the week after like Chris's ship left. So it was just like even weirder. So
he's like, oh, I'm sad now. Yeah, like yeah, and I mean, I don't know, like you don't save the organization and then walk away from what is going to be the hardest part, which is actually living what he said they were going to do, you know? Like it was a lame ending for Kenton, and it just seemed kind of I definitely felt like there was more of a Kenton Chris romance in the pros, and in this it was not kind of like they weren't like not together by any means, but there was like a little bit of an attraction, and there was not that in this.
Stronger in the earlier volumes, like much less so in this volume.
Mm-hmm.
Dryle is like all pro Kenton now, even though I thought like didn't Dryle contract with the Rim Kingdoms?
It was he would definitely been in contact.
Yeah, that was his plan. So I mean, I guess I buy it. Kenton didn't kill Dryle, and it was a pretty momentous occasion and saved Dryle, and it makes sense. But given that he was so anti-Kenton, it's
does Kenton? Well, Kenton does say they're going to start charging for some of their services, I think, which is one thing Dryle did want.
That is one thing that Dryle wanted. Yeah,
and it's like partly because Dryle didn't think Kenton could do it. Like it's like you're a weakling, like you're not going to be able to do this. Like just let me do it.
Yeah,
and then like Kenton does everything he said he was going to do. It's like, oh, okay, and like he's also like willing to do some of the things Dryle wanted to do. So it's like okay, like,
and I think the reason why Dryle was contracting with the Rim Kingdoms is because they just expected that they would need to leave Lysand. I think
that's true. There was he believed it to be impossible that they could even stay.
Right.
It's. I wish there was like a little bit more there, or like they showed Dryle kind of portraying like a contrast, like a scene of Dryle kind of contrasting with Kenton in terms of leadership to show they would kind of be, you know, that they weren't like 100% on the same page. But
I mean, it makes sense if you think about it, but it is a bit of a hard right turn. And
that they go from enemies to best buddies, you know, leader and second in command.
Grace wants Kenton and Dryle romance. That's what she wants in this. that's what she was telling me. Ice says, "Oh yeah, I guess we're gonna go into the Deep Sand and we're gonna go to the capital of Kirsta and we're gonna see how that goes."
This actually, I don't even know if, in terms of the whole whatever's going on with, is the religion named Kareen, you said, Eric?
Kareen. The
Kareen philosophy. There's like a tiny bit more in the end of the prose having to do with that whole plot line that just gets cut from this entirely.
Do you remember what that was about? Because I don't.
Yeah, because essentially, so the Akar, I believe his name is, like, you know, the pope of their religion. The head is essentially the priest.
Yeah.
Like the head of the priest faction. I can't remember.
But there's other factions.
Priests. Yeah, as opposed to merchants, and I believe the third one was warriors.
Yes,
like
and they made warrior priests too. But so essentially, he was about that was the new Daikeen. Yeah, but he was the Akar had been the head of the priests, and he had a lot of influence. But it seemed like, or no, he was not. He was not the head. It was still the lord. It was the merchant.
The merchant was the leader of the country.
Yeah,
and the Akar wanted to be the leader of the country.
Oh, is the Akar not the same thing as the leader? Okay.
No.
There we go.
The Akar's just the head of the priesthood, I think.
And they're worried that the head of the priesthood is going to win this vote, and in the end, he doesn't. And then
because
suddenly
the DM survives. So that's
the DM survives. Yeah, his whole thing is messed up, and the merchant is going to be the leader of the whole country again. But then he seizes control and essentially declares himself the de facto leader of the country.
Because it's like a vote, like.
Yeah, it's the vote narrowly goes to the Lord of the Merchants.
Yeah, and what the Akar does is like seal all the rooms. Is like, okay, now we're going to vote again.
And I'm gonna win this time.
Yeah. So who knows if that's gonna be canonical or not?
I don't know, because we do get this one scene with Lady Helis where like she asks like one of her people, "Are we out of touch filled?" Who responds, "I think not, Lady Helis. The news from Kirkadansha suggests it is the Akar who is out of step. Do tell." His support crumbled in light of news of the DM's reinstatement.
Okay, yeah, so I guess that's just not a thing anymore.
Yeah, the Akar is resolute. He won't stand for that. Won't long stand for that. I wonder what will come next.
Okay, so
I guess like it could happen, but it's not as immediate.
So presumably that would be a villain in like Ice's plot in a sequel thing, I guess.
If there's some sort of sequel involving Ice, yeah.
Seems like
I just happening. Like the fact that it is the Akar who is out of step. Like, what is Lady Helis's like involvement with all of this? Like, what are they out of step with? Like, this is like one of the things that like alarm bells were going off in my brain.
Oh, really?
What is that?
It definitely, in my head, it was more, I am an important leader of the country of Lost Sand. I am watching about political events with our only, like the only main country that is a threat to us. I'm watching these events. Is the Akar out of step with what's going on, or is our belief correct that he is not going to be the leader? Essentially, I took it more as her watching enemy politics as opposed to her having some sort of stake in it. But I see how you could also think that.
Yeah, it's just like it's weird, and it doesn't help that Moffedin is just like creeping over Lady Helis's head.
There's a lot of cloud faces in this, and it's pretty blatant this time.
Yeah, I liked the old cloud faces a tiny bit more because I felt like they were a little harder to catch, and now I'm like, oh, there's a face. There's a face.
I do like being able to tell that, like, oh yeah, there's definitely a female face looking over here. Like, what is she looking at?
Yeah, it's not always clear too. Like, there's a couple times where I'm like, what is she interested in this for? But
I think with the out of touch thing, I thought she was, because it's panning from the DM, and so I was thinking that she was referring to, are we out of step with how the country feels about the DM and the Sandmasters?
Oh, like are we ourselves out of step as leaders of this country? Maybe
that's how I interpreted it, but I can see why. Ian, you're like, wait, what is going on with that? Because it is kind of weird, for sure. I can see the enemy politicking thing as well. Oh, for sure. So, we kind of glossed over the fact that Ellerin was the person sending the assassins for Kenton, which is why he was bad at reading what the Kareen book was.
Yeah. That's how underwhelming a twist it was.
Yeah. And we also glossed over the fact that Ice's husband is like, we will go with you to the deep sand.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because like she wanted to go and talk to the Akar, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I intend to visit Kirkadansha at the capital. Maybe the Akar, the holiest man on the sand, can answer my questions.
Yeah, Ice will be our Akar plotline if there is some sort of sequel that follows her.
100%.
That makes me believe more that the Akar will seize control of the whole government, in my opinion.
But it will actually, someone will be there to see it rather than just a random epilogue.
Yeah, where we're like,
Yeah. Well, Brandon in his early Brandon books really likes like, oh, there's the epilogue and something crazy's happening. And will you get the sequel? Never.
Yeah. But, he still likes to pull it out on us. Dropping Nightblood at the end of a book.
I guess
it
feels different when we actually know that we're getting a sequel for it. that kind of helps.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you're right. That is a thing Brandon likes to do. And then one last change.
Oh, there's Hoyd, by the way, in case you were looking for him.
Yeah,
he's singing.
Hoyd. Last thing. Oh, sorry. This is the formal epilogue in Passage to Elise, because, you gotta have Hoyd in the epilogue. But, yep, so it's Hoyd in here. Kind of doing a very similar thing to what he did in Stormlight epilogues.
Yeah, this is as close as he gets to a fourth wall break for me, though, in his little song he's singing here, though, where he essentially is going, the further away the story is from the author to the reader, the weirder it gets, and the harder it is to tell what they mean. That's not what I'm talking about with this graphic novels. That's just unrelated.
But more important than Hoyd and the cloud face that's in this end is that Bayon has a massive stream of power when he's tested for sand mastery, and so Bayon can be a sand master.
Fatum!
I don't even know what to make of this. I believe this is a new development that Brandon decided on, because he's called Bayon a character without access to any powers before, like years ago when someone asked him.
It does feel like a newer thing, yeah.
But also what is very interesting is that if you go back to Volume 1 and see the test where Dryle and Kenton were tested, Dryle's like beam of light was like a foot, 2 feet tall. This is
a cloud beam.
A lot more.
It's an Avengers cloud beam.
Yeah, it's a sky beam. Yeah.
Yeah, like
a Tesseract is right there.
Right there.
So if like the size of that like reaction is supposed to be indicative of how powerful a Sandmaster is, and Dryle is like really powerful. How powerful is Bayon?
He should have several hundred ribbons of sand, just if that's proportional in any way.
Yeah.
Overmaster a couple times.
Of course, there's Bovidin watching.
And then it just ends.
Yep.
I mean,
hope things work out for Chris.
Yeah, we're done.
They must somewhat, because she lives.
Right. So, if you didn't listen to our last episode on Words of Brandon, Brandon talked at DragonCon about how they will be doing Dark Side graphic novels.
Mm-hmm.
Which is good, because this is an ending, but there's clearly a lot more that can happen on Taldane.
Right? Yeah, it is way less cliffhangery, which I so appreciate, because the end of the prose is, this is book 1 of a trilogy. But
how
in my opinion,
was the first was the prose?
Kenton leaves to get on a ship. You don't know how that's going to go. He's just going to follow Chris to where she's going.
Right.
The whole Akar thing takes over. They know that there was really an ice plot line. That was just kind of Ice Feather that I don't remember anything about.
Well, I think
there's a new case.
I don't remember.
It definitely felt way more. This felt like a closing and more of an ending to me, if that makes any sense.
Did wrap
Maybe
up
that's just my opinion.
Most of the plot threads, it's we figured out who Sherazon was. We figured out what happened with the Sandmasters and why they all lost in the beginning. And okay, fine. And Ban's a Sandmaster or something. I do like this ending better. I rather strenuously did not particularly like the ending of the original White Sand.
You didn't like any part about original White Sand.
No, that is not true. That is not true, David.
A lot.
That is not true, because I thought the beginning was really good, but then when they get to Kezare, then it's just all politicking all the time, which has really nothing to do with the beginning, and that's why I fundamentally didn't really like the book, because I was really into the beginning and the deserty stuff that was happening at the beginning, and Kenton.
You thought it was gonna be a desert, they were gonna be in the desert for the whole time.
It's called White Sand, not bunches of politicking. What do you think?
Okay. I just wasn't sure what the promise you had felt had been promised to you. That's interesting. Okay.
I mean, there's not really politicking involved in the beginning of the prose, right? So it was just jarring to be so you have to talk with all the Taisha and convince all the Taisha, and that's what the rest of the book's about. Anything else doesn't matter. We're saving the DM here. That's what we're doing.
There definitely could have been fewer Taisha.
There's a lot of Taisha. I mean, you want in a Brandon book, you want the depth of world building for it to feel like a place that could actually function. We get definitely less world building here. The part that I really didn't like, other than the whoa crazy reveals of things, was that Kenton goes through the entire book of White Sand trying to be how am I going to beat Dryle? I got to beat Dryle. I got to get stronger and better, and I'm going to overmaster. I'm going to get more ribbons, but turns out my entire overmastery and nearly dying overmastering doesn't matter, because the power's inside me all along.
Well,
because all I need is one ribbon.
Really, really enjoyed that part.
As do I.
Because
I'm in the minority on this, but I really hated it.
Because it's all throughout the book, Kenton was trying to fight Dryle on Dryle's term. He's never going to have as many ribbons as Dryle's does. That's just a simple fact. But he was trying to like, okay, like I'm going to get like as many ribbons as I can. Fighting that way, like he's always going to be at a disadvantage. In contrast, like at the very beginning of the book, like he says, like I can do as much with one ribbon as you Mastrals can do with 25. Like he has trained for 15 years. I don't know how old Kenton is. Like
I think it was 8, but yeah.
8 years. Like he has trained with one ribbon and he can do some phenomenal things with one ribbon. So the fact that like he's trying to like use like 5, like he hasn't trained for 5 ribbons.
I see that, but I can only compare to Mistborn, where Vin learning the magic system was useful, whereas here it's like we're learning about the magic system and it wasn't even useful for the last conflict. Like we just could have cut that entire part out and it wouldn't have mattered. And that's the part that I didn't like, that we spent so much time worrying about it in the prose and dealing with that and trying to do that it just felt like it was a waste of time.
I disagree, because it's Kenton's realization that like, oh wait, the power was inside me all along. Like that's the important thing. Like that could not have happened if he hadn't gone through all of that training.
I think that the difference you're seeing there is in Mistborn, the magic system is there to help drive the plot. Like it allows Vin and Kelsier to do fantastic things. It allows everything to happen. Allomancy enables them to overthrow the Final Empire. But in this, the magic system is more about Kenton's character. And so he spends his whole time, it's a character reveal, it's not a plot thing. And so
I guess
that's just kind of how it, like Kenton has always, like even if you like, I think the prose does a better job of it, but Kenton started off with a pretty pure belief that he could do as much as any Mastral with his one ribbon. And that ended up being on some level true at the end. And he kind of got away from his defiance just because it felt good. He turned into a leader and he stopped like trying to become something he wasn't and just embraced what he was and was successful.
I think it's better in this. Like I have much less of an issue with it because
it's just simpler in this to me.
It doesn't feel like Kenton's constantly trying to get more ribbons. And my problem with the prose is it's just really long for what it is. It's really long. The graphic novel is snappier. We're moving between place to place a lot faster. Our side quests get done in a chapter, and that's fine. Like in volume 2, when they went on the sandling hunt, right? That was just a chapter. And then we go back to the main city. That's fine. I like that better. And I get what you're saying, but I still think the way the prose did it, I personally did not like it because the book was too long. And if I'm generally thinking the book's too long, then it's like, why did we even need to do that crap? We just didn't need to do any of that, and we just could have cut it all, and it would have been exactly the same. And that's just.
But it wouldn't have. But it would not have been the same.
Oh,
I know I'm in the minority, but like it was a waste of time in the prose.
Things we did not mention: slashification not ending up being a thing that Dryle even tries at the end.
Yeah, it's just not mentioned this entire.
That was in the prose. He tries to slashify to like hydrate himself and keep fighting, and then Kenton still beats him. Like it was kind of a weird thing where you're like, oh no, he's gonna win.
Kenton's like goes through the hand with like his ribbon and just like so like all of the stuff just drains out of.
Oh, does he? I forgot about that.
It's like super nasty.
Yeah, I thought there was a word of Brandon where Brandon said he was gonna fix satrification, and I guess the fix is ignore it ever existing.
Yeah, he hasn't been happy with it, so I'm not surprised he didn't want it to make it a element of the finale if it's a thing he's not happy about the magic system.
Yeah. But I mean, it's definitely better that we just ignore that that's a thing, unless it's gonna matter. Yeah, but satrification just kind of we're just ignoring that. I don't know. What did you guys think of White Sand as a whole? Prose versus the graphic novel as well. Like what do you think?
I would say at the end of the day, like this is a stronger story than it was in the prose. I think that they did a good job at like a pretty decent job adapting what is an Elantris level story, which is not a bad thing. It's earlier in Brandon's career. If Brandon wanted to go through and rewrite it from the ground up, would it be better now? Yeah, it would. Is it a project he's interested in doing? No, he wants to write Stormlight. He wants to write Mistborn. He wants to ideally get us those Elantris sequels.
Which are I mean, yeah, those are all good decisions. Do that.
Yeah, and so at the end of the day, like, I think it is better. Something has to be the worst part of the Cosmere, and for me, this is it. But it's not as bad. It's not as bad as the prequels. It's just not great.
Like the Star Wars prequels.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I meant by prequel.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So I still don't know if White Sand was the best choice for a graphic novel adaptation.
Yeah.
But I think Dragonsteel has learned some very important things, like that if future graphic novels like are on the tier of this volume 3, that I am hopeful for the future. I think it will be good. It would have been nice if we had gotten to this level at the beginning. I think a lot of the negative sentiments towards White Sand wouldn't have emerged.
Yeah. Not to mention release dates. That would have been nice.
Oh, this has been a mess in terms of it's so sad this is the best one. It's had the worst release.
Yeah. I did like it. I do think it's hard because I haven't read volume 1 or 2 in a while, and I definitely haven't read the prose in a while.
It's been a long time since we've read the prose.
That's how much we love the early parts of this adaptation. We read them all the time.
Yeah. That I'm very curious to see like how well people who have not read the prose react to this. Like, are there going to be things that are just confusing, but because of our knowledge of the prose, like we like, oh, okay, yeah, that's what happens here.
That is true. I definitely was like, oh, I remember what's going on. Delius is going to become the leader of this, of the merchant circle. Okay, like.
Yeah. And I always remembered that was cool.
So I'm hopeful for the future of graphic novels in the Cosmere.
Yeah. And I think, Eric, what you were saying earlier, that kind of made something clear for me, which is the book was really long and kind of dragged it sometimes, and they made it a lot snappier.
They totally
But I think in making it a lot snappier, they should have been a little bit better about cutting some things, because some things that had more space in the prose now turned into kind of like a one-off, like, oh, what was that? Like, there's just too many betrayals, like they should have simplified, they should have streamlined the plot instead of just making everything happen faster.
Yeah, like I do think some things needed more context than they got.
And the world building is weaker, and not just because of the art. Like you don't understand Dayside as well as you should. Really?
Yeah, you don't get.
Each of the professions has a name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We learned the DM, we learned the Helm, the Hall, and the Guild. There's like 4 more professions.
Yeah. It's just so much easier to have Kenton riding on a tonk thinking and going like, oh, I know how this, this sand pneumatic pump Zinklin thing works, and he can explain it to us, and we just see them shoot stuff.
Whereas, here we don't really get that. But the story was snappier. But too many betrayals at the end, I think that's super valid, because we just don't need that many. It's the Elantris syndrome. Everyone has a secret identity, and Brandon realized he needs to cut some. Probably overall the story was better. Volume 3, like, it was perfectly enjoyable. It's nice because a lot happens. Yeah. Things are always happening, and not surprising that the ending is the best part. Whatever Brandon's story you're reading, that's not that surprising. But, if you would compare it to the Star Wars prequels, episode 3 is better than the first 2 because a lot more happens. And a lot of things happen here, and I like that. So it's pretty good. So world building weaker, but maybe overall stronger story. Just, it's not perfectly matched for a graphic novel, right?
Nah.
Like, the duels, some of the best part, like in this, we get some of the best reasons that it can be a graphic novel, but we also get some of the drawbacks in like, this is a cerebral accounting puzzle that we fix. Like, that's harder to do in a graphic novel. Yeah,
just like a thought bubble with a bunch of math symbols above Kenton's head. And you're like,
I love it.
He's thinking real hard.
Counting.
And like we said, they were adapting for this story. Whereas for future graphic novels, like, it will be original to this medium.
So do you think
hopefully like it will be more streamlined, because like you can't do as much in a graphic novel. It'll be written to the strengths of the medium.
I would hope
rather than trying to shoehorn. It was like, okay, there was this thing. Like, how can we cut it up?
Yeah,
to make it fit.
I'm pretty optimistic about future Darkside comics.
I am so glad the two of you have said that, because that is not at all what you were thinking in our last.
Well, like this.
episode.
Oh no, yeah, not at all. It's what I was thinking. I was really pretty strongly negative and was hoping they would never do another one.
I mean, this shows promise. You know, like it ended on a high note for the 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
It will probably hold up better now that people can read all 3 at the same time, and you don't need to wait a year and a half through a third of a story.
Mm-hmm. It's like that's one of the major problems that people had with Wheel of Time.
Yeah,
it was the end. It's like people were like waiting years for a book, and then like, okay, like, but I didn't get to see any of the characters I like. Right. Whereas if you read them now, like straight through,
it's fine.
It works a lot better.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I could just burn through 1,000 pages of minor characters and then I'll get back to Rand.
Presumably, I mean, I haven't read Wheel of Time, but presumably those build to something and matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But this shows promise. I would still like them to really have like a concrete release date, and I'm worried about, let's say, the quality of the writing, because one thing that we talked about in our previous White Sand episode was if they go even more off script because Brandon doesn't have time to write a script, then like how good's that gonna be?
Then how good is that writer? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It depends on like how much Brandon writes himself, which like writing a script for a graphic novel does not take near as much time as writing he could bang out a pretty good outline.
Yeah, and I mean it's not like dialogue is like I think Brandon does completely serviceable dialogue, but I don't think dialogue is like, I'm not reading Brandon's dialogue for the most part unless he's really trying for like really highly impact scenes and going like, oh my gosh, this is great. You know, like normally it's just pretty workmanlike. So I'm not worried about if the shape of the story is good, I think it will be good.
Okay, fair. So we just want the shape of the story to be good.
Which I think he can.
Okay,
he can do. Because like he would have to do that anyway if like he was going to write it out. So like now he just only has to do that, and then it can get turned over to other.
Would we? Here's a question: how important do we want potential future graphic novels to be to the Cosmere? Like, because White Sand feels like a side quest to me right now, unless maybe something later will be really important, but it feels pretty fully optional in terms of understanding the Cosmere. So like, do we want, if something big happens in the sequel graphic novels, are we excited about that? Or are we kind of like, like, you know.
I am.
Okay.
Because like this is Chris's origin story. Like she's very important for the Cosmere.
And I will say, like in these 3, it's a pretty disappointing origin story considering what we know of her later. Mm-hmm. Like there's not, I would hope in Darkside we get a lot more Chris and it gets way more awesome, you know, for her specifically, right?
Chris could definitely be made to shine a little more in a book that she should probably be the most important character. Like Kenton is obviously very important, but Chris is going to be so important.
If in a Stormlight metaphor, like White Sand was very much Kenton's book.
Yeah.
Whereas I think now we would be getting Chris's book.
Yeah, that is true. And so that would be very important for a Darkside thing. And I think that I think she'll have to do more science because she specifically said, hey, we got to figure out how the sand's going to be charged on Darkside. And if we can do that, then we're great. Because I guess we got Bayon, and so we're fine, I guess.
Well, think about this too. Like this could be Chris's, like, you know, she did a little bit of background research in the sand. She looked at it under the microscope. She's doing her early theorizing. But this could be the first time Chris is really digging into the mechanics of a magic system, trying to get sand to recharge on Darkside and trying to find some way to plug into a power source over there.
Starting to figure out about investiture and realmatic theory, and that'd be really fascinating to see.
Yeah.
Okay, in my brain, like this seems like that could be really cool.
it had so much potential, but so did this, so it's hard to.
Well, I mean, the thing is, as we read the prose, if you subscribe to Brandon's newsletter, you can also read the prose, and you can see it's an earlier Brandon story, and Brandon's just gotten so much better at plotting things that, yeah, if he has a good outline that's solid, then maybe we could do it. I would just hope that the implementation is good, right? Because the original art and stuff is not great, and
I would love a consistent artist for whatever next series. Like if it doesn't have to be like, if there's like a sequel series to that, like they can have someone else, but if they're doing 3 volumes or doing 2 volumes, like just have the same art throughout. I don't know how easy that is for people who follow graphic novels or comics, but
it works. But
yeah,
having an artist switch mid book is probably not ideal.
I mean, it
happens.
Artists changing all the time is like it happens in comics.
Do they normally do a better job trying to match the previous style, or is it okay? All right.
No, it's generally like artists have their own style.
Okay.
So.
And it's just
so you either pick
medium
someone
thing.
who's similar, or you're like, oh, okay, it's going to be different.
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
Yeah.
Live and learn.
And it's like very often they'll like try for. Batman has had a lot of different artists over the years.
Well, yeah.
Generally, like for like the current run, there's like 1 or 2 main artists, and like every so often, like, okay, this issue will be like by this artist, probably depending on schedules and such.
That could definitely be kind of cool if like if you match the art style of the story and stuff. That's interesting. That's almost like more like cinematography.
I guess that makes more sense to me for like Marvel, DC comics, like something like Batman obviously has gone through many iterations and is a long running thing rather than 3 volumes. It's like
in 3, yeah.
In 3 volumes, it feels like, come on, there's 3 of them.
Yeah, because like also like artists are very important for comic books.
Yes,
obviously. So it's like they have a following as much as like the writers do,
right?
Whereas like here it's like been very much, oh, this is like Brandon's story, and like the artist isn't really talked about as much, even though almost as much to the final product.
Like I honestly feel bad that I was just thinking I don't know who the artist is, even though I don't really care for their at least the first artist.
Cassis for this last one.
Okay. Go Fritz. But this was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Fritz. Yeah,
I think I should check that.
No, it is. I just went to the beginning. I definitely liked this last one, and the art was fine. I wouldn't say like anything particularly special, but like the Sand Mastery looked cool, and I could tell who's who most of the time, so I'll take that. That's what I need to do, then great. I
thought there were some really good like full page images where they kind of focused on a single moment that I thought looked really cool, and it was mostly in the duel, but yeah, I will definitely get the net. Like obviously I was going to get it no matter what, but like if I was just a casual fan, I definitely would pick up a future graphic novel following Chris. Like I'm very excited about where this could go.
Like the idea of it sounds awesome, and I'm just hope the implementation will be better, but presumably Dragonsteel knows that White Sand wasn't as well received as maybe they would hope. Because I think they want to do a good job, right? And it's a new medium for them, so they have learned a lot, and I think it shows in this that they did learn a lot, and it is better, and maybe it will be better that we get a whole new script that we can just dedicate. We know it is for graphic novels and optimize it, rather than this one, which was not optimized.
Yeah, because there are Dresden File comic books. And I might have mentioned this in our previous episodes.
Maybe
it's been a year and a half. You can hear it all again.
Yeah.
That when they started doing, also by Dynamite, by the way.
Yeah.
They started off doing like just adaptations of the Dresden Files books.
Mm-hmm.
And then they started doing like side stories, like just like this is a graphic novel original. And I like those way more than the ones that are adaptations of the books.
Yeah.
Adaptation is tricky.
It is. Especially like graphic novels and graphic novels are very different mediums.
Yeah. gonna have so much fun dealing with adaptations for Cosmere film things. And I know in my heart of hearts that the like other adaptations like Cosmere films, I'm like, okay, this is going to be different, not the same. They're going to change things to make it work for the medium. And I think a lot of people, maybe including us, are going to get very saucy. But I know that in my heart of hearts, that's like, it's going to be different, and that's okay, right?
That's part of it. It's part of being a book fan. It's hating the movie adaptation just a little bit, even if it's still good. You always have like a tiny bit of resentment in your heart that it's not a 4-hour telenovela of them acting exactly like it is in the book, even if that would be terrible.
Well, yeah, just look at like the first 2 Harry Potter movies versus the third one.
Exactly. It got better. I still kind of there was a little bit of joy from the first 2 where it was pretty direct adaptation, but.
I think the trick is when we get Cosmere movies to not reread the book right before the movie comes out. That's the key. That's the key for you to enjoy it. Because if you read the book, then you'll be coming off the book high and just like, oh man, this is great. But as if you have some distance, then you're like, that could be pretty good. Or it could be like Aragon, where it's just garbage. That was a garbage movie, and well.
And the original book was. It's a good starter fantasy book.
Yeah, but like the movie was especially not good. So, or we could maybe get something like a Lord of the Rings or something. But this.
But people still hate.
Well, yeah, there's definitely some people.
Yeah.
But for the most part, they are very well beloved, and so if you want to,
I'm not a part of the haters. I love those movies.
We'll just need to keep that in mind. But yeah, different mediums are very hard. Do we have any other thoughts? Were there any other differences? I think it was mostly Dryal and who left on the boat, and I think we kind of talked about the difference in endings. Most of the other plot beats were basically the same.
Yeah, I think the ice plot line, aside from her little epilogue, was about the same. I don't remember what if Ice was suggested to have been doing anything in the prose after this, or if Brandon just kind of forgot he was a character because it was a he. I don't
remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really remember.
Do you want to like try to guess what autonomy is trying to do?
It's so hard to tell. Like, does autonomy?
Assuming like whenever we see a phase, like she's paying attention.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, maybe we should talk about that some. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I was just saying, last mention of Ice in the prose is Ice going, I vote in favor of the DM. And there is no resolution with Ice after that.
Oh, wow. Okay. So this is way better. Okay. Wow. Okay. Yeah. That's that much better ending in that
Even more credit.
Yeah. Seriously. This is a solid ending if we don't see graphic novels for 5 years or something, even much longer than our current breaks, right? I don't imagine they're going to be soon.
This might be just like a total off topic, but in the panel where Hoyt is singing, there's just a guy with purple skin.
No, there's not. Is there really?
Yes, there is.
Oh, wait.
Is he Kolos blooded? Oh my god, there is.
That's a Kolos. That's a Kolos.
Is it a Kolos blooded? That'd be so crazy.
Kolos.
I think this is like several hundred years before Kolos were even a thing.
Yeah, if Taldane's early Cosmere, is Scadrial even existing at this stage? Like, we don't even know.
Hey, you technically could have made a Kolos at any point with hemalurgy. I don't think they would have been able to have Kolos-blooded children at that point, but, you know.
Look, shards, is it possible for shards to do that? Yes. With enough investiture, anything's possible.
If he was holding the boombox, that would have been like there's like that'd have been incredible.
Yeah, I don't quite like his purple skin. So we have the Ivy and we have a purple skin guy, and then we have random evergreens. We don't have a boombox, we don't have a horse, and we don't have a ceiling fan. Much improved, but why does he look purple?
I feel like it's probably like a weird lighting effect where they're trying to do something interesting with that.
Let's put this on screen. Let's put purple guy on screen here.
But even like the shading is kind of like, it's not, he's definitely not in shadow. You can see the shadow on him.
Yeah.
What?
I just don't know. I feel like that was probably like just like you get in the zone color. I don't even know how colorizing works, but I'm just like, you're coloring and you're just like, kind of doing it, and you're like, oh damn, I already made him purple. Well, no one's gonna notice, you know. Like,
well, that's a thing. So I think we could. I mean, we definitely could surely do a full autonomy episode. But do we have any quick thoughts on autonomy stuff in this?
I think autonomy hates Sandmasters for some reason. I don't know what that reason is. I think it seemed like she pretty directly asked one to betray them and poison them all, and then instigated an attack from the Kirstians at that exact moment when they were weak.
Presumably, like, the Sandlord could have talked to the Kirstians or the Akar to do that, right? Like, that's
I feel like in my head, the Akar is probably interacting with this Sandlord avatar as well. If we know that they're taking such a direct... Yeah. Well, no, I mean... Sorry, avatar is a term that now has real meaning. I feel like they've interacted with that same being that we saw Aloran interact with. Yeah. Because that would just be possible.
Why avatar is a horrible name for what Brandon is using it for.
I don't disagree, Ian. I agree with you. I would love to know a proper Cosmere term for it.
It should be called Angs instead of avatars.
I mean, I agree with all that. I don't really understand why there's faces in the clouds, but presumably autonomy watching, I guess, or something.
I think autonomy gave Bayon. I don't know how. We can talk about at some point, probably in the future, initiation for Sand Mastery. But I think autonomy was like, Bayon, you are getting some power right now.
So, how then is a practitioner of Aeondor initiated? It does not appear to be tied to family descent, as one finds on Scadrial, nor is it a specific shard's decision as a Nalthus. Even Taldane's and Vax's methods do not seem to apply here.
Well, that's not very helpful for Taldane.
Yeah, I still think, even though it says it's not a shard-specific decision, I still stand by Bayon being a Sandmaster, being in that moment, autonomy deciding that Bayon is going to be a Sandmaster and doing something out of the ordinary. Yeah, that cloud face is like, oh, watch this, guys.
I want the Tesseract Skybeam now.
Yeah.
But that's kind of weird, though. Like, if she hates Sandmasters, but then made being a Sandmaster, like, what?
Maybe she hates the organization. Like, maybe she doesn't like the DM for some reason. The DM is oppressive. It controls its ranks, you know?
Or we know that Bovidin likes creating different entities of autonomy.
Okay.
What if there's more than one version of autonomy on Taldane?
I mean, totally I would guess at least two. One for dark side and one for day's side. So that would be my gut, just thinking about that.
What if there's like main Bovidin who is like, hey, I made these Sandmasters, they're kind of cool. And then there's like the smaller Sandlord. It's like, they're using parts of my body. I don't like them. I'm going to destroy them.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing I'll throw out is we don't really know when. Do we know when Bovidin started making avatars? Is it possible this is prior to autonomy even beginning that? Because we know that like there's a phase when they didn't want people coming to Taldane, and there's a phase when they stopped doing that. You know,
seriously.
So
there's a lot of Taldane stuff. Like, are we going to get those in later graphic novels to explain what the crap's up with that? I have no idea.
Well, Brandon has implied that he wants to write at least one real Taldane novel. He said that recently, that we're unlikely to get dark side novels, but he wants to do a dayside novel.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah. And he said dark side will probably be all graphic novels, but dayside will probably get a novel.
Huh.
Yeah. But that's a probably from Brandon. So
yeah, Brandon promising novels, like he's got a few.
But yeah,
I think we should do an autonomy episode soon, because there's all this whole thing with Trell.
Yeah.
And volume 2.
And what's his face? Pachi. Yeah.
Yeah. There's plenty of autonomy to discuss, and so maybe we should do a full podcast on that. But yeah, I'm reasonably optimistic. This was an ending that I'm feeling, I can say feel good about, you know? Whereas the other ones I'm like, this is mediocre. That's what I felt like.
Yeah. Oh, I had no enthusiasm for the third volume. at the end of the last podcast. I remember that. So
oh yeah, but like this was like fine to good, right? Like that's what I would rate this one, right? That's your 17 shard endorsement. It's somewhere between fine and good. That's our White Sand Volume 3 one.
That'll be the pull quote for the cover of the Dark Sand novels. White Sand 3, fine to good. 17shard.com.
Okay. Well, why don't we do a special edition of Who's That Cosmere character where David and Ian fight? Did we even do Who's That Cosmere character for our old White Sand episodes? I don't even know.
I don't think we developed the concept yet.
I don't think
it wasn't even a game we played.
Well, you know what? We do them bi-weekly, so dang it, we gotta do some Who's That Cosmere character.
This character is from Roshar.
Menace, Tien,
Talm,
Braze,
Void in drag on a horse.
It's time for Who's That Cosmere character? Caw. I'm bad at this. Grace and Ben are better. Okay, that's just a fact. So
that's all good.
You send 5 clues in a character to wtcc at 17shard.com, and we will read them aloud, and the contestants will guess who's that Cosmere character. So, clue 1. This character is the subject of research.
The subject of research.
The subject of research.
Kenton.
No, it is not Kenton. Got to get all the Tal'Daini stuff done.
Oh, I know. That's where my brain is now. I feel like there's like an obvious one where they're studying someone, and I cannot think of it off the top of my head. Subject of research. What about Pattern? Shalon kind of researched him.
That's a good guess. It is not.
Oh, well.
This character has a Spren bond.
Okay. Thank you for not saying this character's from Roshar. That was clever.
Yeah, this is this. You know, that's a good point. This is more specific than that. That's good.
I'm gonna guess Gavilar.
It is not Gavilar.
Subject of research and has a Spren bond.
That's right.
I keep thinking like it is performed research. This is harder when there's just the two of us because I can't.
It is hard.
I don't have a guess. I can't like stall for very long.
You can't, and you don't have people helping you with that. You know?
Oh, I know.
Because sometimes someone goes on a line, and you're like, you know what? I do like this cell idea, and then you go down that.
Yeah, no. Ian's a brick wall. I'm not getting any help out of him here.
Never. Ian's here to win.
Yasna.
No.
Just because research connection. Okay.
Yeah. Clue 3, this character eats fruit.
Flipped.
No. That actually does satisfy.
I bet you she does, yeah.
Yeah. He's a subject of research from the ring, right?
Is it Riluna, the
oh my god, it is.
The moving island
that is Riluna. That was good. That was top tier. I was like reading this. I'm like, man, I would not remember that name. Yeah. This is the Taina that Lift meets.
That Risen
meets. Lift. What? Sorry. Risen. They're both interlude characters. Yeah.
That there was a character that had something to do with fruit, and I could not. I was like, I don't know who that is. That was good, Ian.
Clue 4, this character gives a gift to another character. Clue 5, this character has black eyes. And bonus clue 6 is this character is female.
Oh, nice.
I don't think we know that.
I think they called her she a couple times, but I could be wrong.
I think so, yeah.
Okay. It helps that I listened to the graphic novel of Stormlight as with my parents.
The graphic novel?
Oh.
The graphic audio.
I knew what you meant.
Yeah.
It's like, let's do an episode on those.
And it wasn't too long ago that we did the Risen interlude.
Right. Yeah, because I would never have remembered that name.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
That sounds fun.
A+, nice.
Well, now I have to get this one.
Yeah, you do.
Okay, right. I got the Dob one. That was really good. I'm still riding the high off that.
I like last week that I got D-Loff. I felt pretty good about that. All right, this next one is sent from the Beast 22846. And clue number 1, this character can use investiture.
How do you define use, Eric?
I know.
Should I even give you anything?
I didn't expect
You
to.
should not.
Okay, I won't. Then I won't. Good
Because
call.
then I can guess Navani and it be technically accurate based on my knowledge.
Are you guessing Navani?
Yes, I'm guessing Navani.
No, it's not Navani.
I'm guessing Syl because she is investiture.
No, it's not Syl. Clue 2, this character is bald.
Bayon.
No, he's bald.
Yeah, kind of. I don't know.
At certain
Roshar?
points in the artwork, he is.
Oh, is he?
Oh my god, he is. Yeah.
Oh, no. Jeez. I did not
Hair
Like
remember.
early
grows,
on,
yeah.
like in volume 1, he has no hair.
Huh.
But like
And
now,
There's a
he has
Bayon panel where he's got like a creepy smile where he's just like, but
We had less to complain
pretty
about
bad.
this time.
Yeah,
we did. We
which is
definitely did.
good.
That is good. Yeah, it's nice.
Okay. The only character that I can think of that's bald is Kadash or like any Ardent. Oh, but I did not guess. So I'm going to guess Vasher.
It is not Vasher.
But he
Vasher
doesn't
is
shave his
also
head,
not
does he?
bald.
He doesn't shave his head because he doesn't like listening to them. Damn.
Well done. Good job.
I went from like Ardent, no hair, and I was like, Vasher is an Ardent. Vasher must have no hair.
All right. Clue 3. This character was named by a Brandon Sanderson fan naming auction.
Oh. That's actually interesting. Like that's a pretty good clue.
This is from before I was in the fandom, I'm guessing.
I know exactly what this means.
Oh, wait. Is it Yeoman?
It is Yeoman. Yep.
I that's an annotations thing. That's the
It
only
is.
reason I
It
know
is.
that.
It is. Yeah, that's right.
All right, Ian. 1-1. I needed to not embarrass myself.
And the last 2 clues are this character does not have a hemalurgic spike, though he almost did.
Oh
We
yeah.
tried to spike him.
Mhm.
And clue 5, which definitely would have given it away. This character can burn atium.
Oh yeah.
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 But
No, I remember reading about it because I think he won it at like a church auction, and another one of Brandon's friends really wanted to get it, and then let that guy who became Yeoman win, and then Brandon named Goradel after that guy who let him win.
Yeoman
recall
being
correctly.
the villain-ish figure in Hero of Ages, the
Oh, I
obligator.
dispute the hell out of that.
He was an
I love-
antagonist to the. What I mean is he's an antagonist. Chill out, guys.
I love
He is-
Yeoman. He's great.
The antagonist for the Fodrex plotline for most of that book. Like
I
the
accept
Citizen is. Chillax.
See, I would still call the Citizen a villain, even though like later he's revealed he was a puppet.
Sorry,
'cause
I
he's
shouldn't
just not
use
a
the
very
word
nice guy.
villain. I should use antagonist.
Correct,
Fine.
because those are 2 very different things.
Yeah. Sorry. And he is a seer and was an obligator and was very cool. It was nice to see a believer in the Lord Ruler after the Lord Ruler's death. Spoiler
Yeah.
for Air 1.
Yeah. In case you haven't read Mistborn.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you all for watching. Not as much salt this time, but you know what? That's nice. We want to like these things, so that's good.
We do.
Yep. That's our bias. So that's how you know how tough the other 2 were.
Yeah.
That is true, though. If you are wondering, are we biased? Yes, we like Brandon's stuff almost all the time. That's
At least it's Cosmere stuff.
hey. I mean, Skyward.
I'm
was
speaking
good.
for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You don't really enjoy the non-Cosmere much. Have you even read Skyward?
Yeah, I read Skyward. I like Skyward. I was meh on Arithmetist and haven't read Alcatraz.
Alcatraz is fun. Weird but fun.
Mhm.
Read it after this.
Arithmetist is my favorite.
Yeah.
And Calamity sucks, but whatever. Anyway.
Bye. Well, follow us on 17shard.com for all your news, discussion, theories, and fun and discussion on White Sand, because there's so much of it right now. So discuss your thoughts on White Sand Volume 3 in the comments below at 7tchart.com or in our Discord. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud, YouTube. You can leave us a review on iTunes. You can support us on Patreon. Link is below. And we'll see you all next time.
Bye.
Peace.
Caw.